Well, pursuing second place will never sit comfortably with Manchester United folk, but the overwhelming conclusion one has to reach is that that is what they're doing from now on. Fulham's blue West London neighbours are almost out of sight. Gary O'Reilly, do you think that United are the best of the rest?
I daren't say that to anybody. I think you look at Liverpool with 2 games at hand and the potential to overtake them if results go their way. I think you look at Arsenal, who are re-gearing, that Manchester United have some legitimate competition for second place, let alone as at the place that they've always held as #1 in recent years.
Wayne Bridge for Fulham, instituting himself at left full back now on loan from the neighbours. Looking to continue to make his case, despite having missed so much of this season, for a place in England's World Cup squad. Morte of Portugal conceded the free kick, which Gary Neville took speedily. Neville, who of course has been in the news a fair bit just recently, following the Liverpool game, which he's going to have to revisit in the FA Cup next weekend. Hefty clearance. Silvestre back in the back four for Manchester United, headed away. Richardson gathered in the centre circle, held up by Elliott. Requires assistance from Neville. This is Alan Smith, who served his suspension. Evra. So a really neat exchange with Park. Early days at Manchester United, the French full-back has shown a certain amount of adventure.
Yes, and I think it'll take a little bit of time for him to settle down. You can see here, immediately thinks about attacking, and he doesn't really have a chance to stop, and I think Zat Knight realises that it can be quite painful to get run into.
It's been quite an introduction to the Premier League for Patrice Evra. He began with a Manchester derby. We note what a significant anniversary we are approaching. Atkinson saw a push on the edge of the penalty area and a free kick in favour of Mikael Silvestre. Evra began with a Manchester derby, then had Manchester United against Liverpool, and followed that up with a 7-goal game at Blackburn the other night. It hasn't been normal for him so far. Here is Park for United, running at Bridge and really disconcerting the full-back and playing a neat ball in for Van Nistelrooy, who drew from the Amy a half-decent stop at his near post.
You knew as soon as Park gets it, he's going to drive at the heart of that Fulham defence, and you can see Van Nistelrooy just trying to create space and drag the defender away. Doesn't think twice, and Naimi may not be as big as Van der Sar, but he's every bit as good.
He's a terrific keeper, and it was only right that he returned to the top league. Park's corner. Driven in and deflected from Brown, back out almost by Niemi onto the boot of Louis Saha, and Fulham get off the hook.
And Antti Niemi must be thinking, oh, OK, another busy night at the office, while Sir Alex Ferguson thinking, not him again.
Brown, who really charged up for this game. Boa Morte. Bridge. Boa Morte. He's asked a lot of Brown, but this guy has a good work rate, and Brown has lifted it in, and Evra has steered it behind, and it's a good early impact from the debutant for Fulham.
What a massive space on the right-hand side of that United defence when the ball comes in. Look, a gaping hole. Goes straight through there, and he does well, because McBride's just created some space near post, and can't quite see who came into the far post, but they were all geared up and ready for him. Evra does well.
Elliott's corner, good start to the game this, at either end, headed away by Saha. Elliott, re-delivered, good downward header from McBride, but a comfortable gather for Edwin van der Sar.
And there you are, McBride. He does have an aerial threat. He's not the quickest guy, but if you get that ball up in the air, he will make sure he gets on the end of it.
Clearance from Van der Sar, which worked out kindly for Richardson. On by Neville. Twist from Park. One back by Bridge. Shifted on by Elliott. Then Malbranc. Out by Evra. Regathered by Steve Malbranc. Down the line from Rossignol. This is Fulham's 5th Premier League game at Old Trafford. They'd lost 3 of the previous 4. As I mentioned at the top, they did have a notable 3-1 win here in October of 2003. Steve Marbrook was amongst their scorers then, and it's his pass that finds McBride, who asked too much of Lewis Burr-Morte. Sahar, Neville, Park, held up by Van Nistelrooy, shifted wide for Neville, who'll get a second crack at his cross, and has picked out Park, who got a deflection and scored. Little bit of luck he made for himself, and Park Ji-sung from South Korea has his first goal in the English Premier League, and poor Antti Niemi could have done nothing about it.
It's tough on the Fulham keeper. Great little move, United keep possession, although it comes out, Neville reacts first, doesn't whack it across, finds Park, it gets a wicked deflection, and Niemi thinks he's got it covered, thinks he's going one way. It's not, it's off Bocanegra, and it's in the back of the net. And you watch Niemi's there, then oh, there you go, all he can do is spectate. Park gets his goal, United get a good early lead.
7 playing minutes ago, Carlos Bocanegra headed a last-minute winning goal for Fulham. That's the game of professional football. You're only as good as your last moment. Not that much blame can really be attached. Malbrook exchanging with Helgeson, away by Silvestre. Ronaldo. Effort dispossessed by Elliott. Malbrook looking for the early ball, aiming it at McBride, who laboured to keep it from going behind but didn't succeed.
But you can see McBride there, he will not give up on that ball. What I'm surprised about is how open it is as soon as United get... Look at the space, that space, it travels a long way. McBride, I thought he might throw himself in there, but he doesn't give up the chase. But the space there for United, they've got to be very, very careful.
9 goals this season for Brian McBride. Edwin van der Sar is playing now his 36th game for Manchester United. A clean sheet today would mean that he would have kept a clean sheet in every other game. Sahar. Beat from Van Nistelrooy.
It's not what you're used to seeing Van Nistelrooy do, is his work outside of the box, but you can see with players, his brain's there, but here we see, look, little setup, in it comes, never wants the early cross, comes back out, sees it immediately, sees Park. Park does the great thing, takes the opportunity to shoot. You never know if it goes in or it takes a deflection, but if you don't shoot, it will never happen for you. So just good opportunism and great lead.
And it all will make Fulham feel a bit like him, a long, long way from home. It is, in fact, their first trip outside of London this calendar year. They've had 4 home games, plus a trip to West Ham. So it's the first time they've had to journey. And actually, they're due a defeat insofar as their fortunes have precisely alternated for their last half dozen games. It has been lose-win, lose-win, lose-win. They haven't won 2 in a row all season.
And in there somewhere is a defeat to Leyton Orient in the FA Cup at home, which was the rare one, the one that really threw the whole rhythm out.
That's right, and that's when they had a chance to win 2 in a row, and the assumption was that they would. Forward by Brown. Knight got a shout from Niemi. The poor Fulham goalkeeper doesn't really have happy memories of Manchester United. Of course, not that it concerns Chris Coleman now, who will be feeling down on his luck. Niemi was in the Southampton side, which ultimately was relegated by defeat against Manchester United on the final day of last season. Nistelrooy thought for a nanosecond that he timed his run just about right. A resigned look as he turns back to see the flag. Rosinho. father, disappointingly, has recently lost his job as manager of Torquay. Malbronk. It's a super ball, and Rosinha has bombed on here. And Silvestre had to be lively. Van Nistelrooy, nicely taken and well shifted on for Park, who's having a truly offensive game here and has Neville outside of him, but fancies it himself and then plays it on for Ronaldo. Niemi stood his ground. Ronaldo again. Richardson.
Gary Neville must be absolutely furious with Park because he's just run 80 yards at full tilt just to watch him pass it to Ronaldo on the other side. Oh dear. Look at him burst down the outside. If we get him in the frame, he'll be in there shortly. Look at it, goes the other way. That is soul destroying sometimes. But it's a great save again from Niemi. Gets his angles right. It is a tame throwaway shot from Ronaldo, but this is a great opportunity for the Portuguese international to redeem himself.
Richardson's left or Ronaldo's right. You know where most money is. It's Ronaldo. It's actually not terribly close. He got it up, but he certainly didn't get it down again.
That man knows he could do better.
Well, that man knows that his young Portuguese could do better as well. On the eve of his coming of age, 21 tomorrow, Cristiano Ronaldo. Remember what that felt like?
Vaguely.
Evra. Ronaldo. And when he has the ball, good as he might on a party night like this in his life, dance all night. He's played it in for Sahar. Exchanged with Smith.
Something tells me we're going to see a lot of his repertoire this evening.
Looks ready for it, doesn't he?
That's an exciting prospect. Evra and Ronaldo down the left flank for United. That is going to be very, very exciting to watch.
Van Nistelrooy, Park, Sahar. Sahar given some assistance from behind by Michael Brown.
Brown knows what he's doing. That's what the smile on his face is for. He knows if Sahar gets the ball here, all right, it's a very high pass. If he gets turns and starts to run at the heart of that Fulham defence, there's trouble. So that's where that foul comes from. Experience.
Played and lost the Manchester derby, his one and only Manchester derby at Main Road 10 years ago this spring. Anthony Amy will want first and foremost a clear view of this. Ronaldo, that's better. Oh, that's a whole lot better. It's an absolute belter. And it's 2-0 Manchester United, who are in danger of getting out of sight before the game's a quarter of an hour old.
Well, this is unstoppable. It moves. We're right behind that. It moves left to right and back again. No wonder Niemi doesn't know which way it's going. Absolutely stunning. And no matter about the movement, it's the pace at which it comes in.
21 tomorrow, and from 20-odd yards out, Cristiano Ronaldo found the key to the door. His 6th goal of the season. He got the winner in this fixture last season. And Fulham, to put it mildly, have a job on their hands. Manchester United have proved themselves vulnerable defensively within the last week, as it happens. But a 2-goal cushion makes life feel very comfortable for them. Against Gary Neville. He went in hard on Lewis Morte. He's prepared to offer a word of apology.
The thing is, Peter, at Old Trafford, United have been very good recently at keeping clean sheets. They've managed to keep Liverpool at bay. They've managed to get results again, even away at Highbury. They've managed to shut Arsenal down. You know, it's the capacity is there within them, and I should imagine at 2-0 at this stage they'll feel very good about life.
You see this free kick, and I'll give you the statistic that bears out the very valid point that Gary O'Reilly's making. There's Carlos Bocanegra, who scored from this sort of situation in the week. Elliott's ball in, headed back by Brown, hooked away by Ronaldo, taken down just a shade clumsily by Van Nistelrooy. It was a hard ball to take. Ever and Silvestre didn't really communicate, but they worked it out somehow and shifted it back to the goalkeeper. Now, since mid-December, Manchester United have won 6 straight home games. During those 6 games, they've scored 19 and conceded 2.
It's a fair point to be made.
One of those to Blackburn in the League Cup, and one of them to Bolton Wanderers in a 4-1 Premiership win. In fairness, those 19 goals do include 5 against a team from the Conference, Burton Albion, in the FA Cup. Nevertheless, the statistics are fairly stark. 19 in 6 games have turned already into 21 in 6 a quarter of an hour, and they have another free kick here now against Leroy Rossignol, who's also in the book.
Saha's pace beats him, just cannot cope, and he doesn't mean it. Great attacking play, you cut across the path of the defender because those things happen and you get the free kick.
Well, you'd worry for Fulham if they conceded again now. It could turn into one of those horror shows. If Manchester United have the appetite, and this boy certainly does. In by Richardson, there's Neville! Whistle had gone, flag was up. Admonishing finger from the Manchester United captain.
Just flashed the linesman a glare, didn't he? You can see, yes, take your pick.
Well, the linesman's got it absolutely right.
This is probably why he just waved the finger rather than anything else.
Statistic that you can use in favour of Fulham is that they have actually scored in all of their 5 games so far this calendar year in 2006, albeit not always winning. They had a 2-1 win against Sunderland, a 2-1 defeat against Leyton Orient, as mentioned in the Cup. Beat Newcastle 1-0, lost 2-1 at West Ham, and then had that 1-0 win against Spurs. There tends to be a goal in them, but they need more than one already.
I think they've got 3.
Here, one doubts it.
I agree. But, as it were, the game is still young. It's now the focus United have. Do they have that real instinct to put a game so far beyond it and just show no mercy on their own ground? That's what the manager, Sir Alex Ferguson, is now looking for.
It's a good run from Van Nistelrooy, who just couldn't get away the right pass. Away by Bridges, down by McBride, gathered by Malbronk. Nicked wide by Helgeson, pursued by Rossignol. Fulham's most cohesive move of the evening so far was cut short by Patrice Evra. Neville. Saha worked at it, but got unfortunate. Well, Bronk exchanged with McBride. This cross against fellow Frenchman Patrice Evra. Steve Malbronk remains one of the more watchable players in the Barclays English Premier League. Every user of the ball given a chance. That's Elliott's cross. Helgeson trying to get airborne. 20 goals for Watford in the Championship last season, and that in what at that point was a struggling team. It's only in the latter part of this season that he's really cemented his place in the Fulham first team in the Premiership.
A lot of that down to Chris Coleman's coach, Ray Lewington, who was at Watford, knows the player well. I mean, having seen him a number of times in Championship, he is a real handful for defenders.
And by Van Nistelrooy. Stolen back by Park for Neville. Now Park, the scorer of the first goal again. His tail is up and he's prepared to take on a man. Silvestre. Brown with an inadvertent touch there. And now Sahar, who's dispossessed by Knight. Bridge. McBride. Boa-Morte. Re-won by Park, forward by Smith, held up by Sahar, who attempted to shift it wide for Van Nistelrooy. Driven along by Bridge. Malbronk. Clear of Evra. And now Rosinho. Teed up for McBride! Well, that makes a game of it. Brian McBride into double figures for the season. Re-injects meaning into the game, some zest into the game.
What a great crossfield ball. Good control, sets it up, moves away, leaves the space. Malbronk gets lucky, gets deflected out across there, but watch McBride now. He's seen it, he's seen it, he's seen it, and he tacks the ball. Powerful header. Gary Neville there just unable to do anything about it.
And the contest is re-enlivened, and didn't a young fullback do well, Rosinho?
Sometimes it's easier, no complications, just get it straight in there. It's a good height, and I said to you before, McBride attacks every single ball in the air.
We've got a very good football match, and here's Van Nistelrooy. Good stop by Niemi, and swept in by Louis Sahar, who once again bites the hand that used to feed him and re-establishes Manchester United's two-goal cushion in the blinking of an eye.
Anything you can do, I can do better. That's what's going to be sung around that dugout now. Again, it's from a wide area. The defence is stretched, in he cuts. There's a hint of offside. Well, it actually is offside. But you see, Van Nistelrooy keeps the ball, protects the ball. Naimi's got the angles covered, but he can't do anything but parry it back into the on-rushing Louis Sahar. But that, again, is a point. Sahar carries on his run, does not stop. Predatory instincts in and around the penalty spot, makes it all happen. And I think there's a real claim for offside here against Van Nistelrooy. Good stop. Sahar in, number 3. And Chris Coleman has seen the replay, and you don't have to know what he's saying to know exactly what he's thinking.
He is incandescent, and he does have a point. He does have a point, and how deflating a moment is that for him to see immediately erased all the good work achieved by the scoring of Brian McBride's headed goal. It's wiped out straight away, and he has a profound sense not just of irritation but of injustice. And there doesn't appear to be a great deal of sympathy from the Manchester United supporters seated behind him. It goes down as a Louis Sahar goal. Louis Sahar is Manchester United's current in-form striker. He has now scored in 4 successive games.
Can you imagine Wayne Rooney sat in that dugout saying, "Hey boss, you're going to get me on at some stage"?
I would say that unless Fulham mount something pretty special between now and say 15 minutes to go, Wayne Rooney could almost start taking off the shin pads and socks, because they won't need to bother stretching his legs tonight. And we are hearing confirmation from alongside the benches, and there is pictorial confirmation of it. Chris Coleman has actually been sent off for his very clear, very verbal protestations after the scoring of Manchester United's 3rd goal, during the build-up to which there was a very evident offside call, unspotted by the referee's assistant. Chris Coleman sent off.
And the thing there is, as a manager, as a coach, do you show passion? Do you let your players? And look, it's a clear offside. It's there. absolutely nailed on. And you can't say he's not interfering with play, because he is. And it's a direct bearing on the Saha goal, and that's what he's watching there. The thing is, you want a manager and a coach to show passion, commitment. He's going to transmit to his players, but at what point do you stop that? Difficult one, because now he's
got to set the right example. Gary, you know, there are millions and millions of kids watching this game around the world.
I agree, but it's an interesting point. Where do you draw the line? He feels totally justified, and he feels that that gentleman there has not done his job properly.
It's a very tough one. It's a professional sport, and he has to show passion. And I guess as a player, you might be, in a sense, pleased to see that of your manager, pleased to see that he cares. But when I tell my 8-year-old in the morning that the referee's right even when he's wrong, and you don't talk back, and he's seen that picture, what am I meant to show him?
There's a conversation that you can have quite happily. Try and find a way through it. Not an easy one to have.
Gary Neville. Apparently there is some sort of radio connection between Chris Coleman, set up there next to Mohamed Al Fayed, and the bench, where he'll be relying on Steve Keane and Dave Besson to pass on his messages. Smith. Richardson. Ronaldo. Evra. Good-looking ball, well read by Knight. Ronaldo again. One back by McBride. Fulham are still showing great hunger, great intent.
They will know, as Fulham players, what that man knows. That goal was offside. And if Manchester United take it easy, take it in any relaxed way, they will be angry. Now that little duo between his coach and Chris Coleman are orchestrating what goes on the pitch now. Even, well, we are in the 21st century. One would expect some sort of technical advantage.
Bridge. Well, certainly 4 or 5 years ago, when Manchester United were in their sort of 1999-2000 pomp, when they were winning the lot, winning in Europe and at home, you would certainly expect them in those days to have kicked on from here and played for fun and given an exhibition for the crowd.
You would have, and I think Sir Alex will know that. He will expect that as a default process, and it'd be interesting to see if he gets it.
Malbronk. Really was a neat turn. Strongly away from Evra. Rosinha is forward again from full-back. Lashed away by Smith. Well taken by Saha. Moved on by Van Nistelrooy. Pursued by Ronaldo, who is quick apart from anything else, and wants to take on Knight here. Boy, he's clever. And it's bedded in for Van Nistelrooy, who is a hair's breadth away. It's his turn to score.
Oh, is it ever? And that man, absolutely dazzling. You know, when it goes wide, Zat Knight has got a real problem. He cannot dive in. Van Nistelrooy gets in front of Bocanegra and whiskers away from that far post. Naimi with no real chance of doing anything about it either.
Van Nistelrooy, the top scorer in the Barclays English Premier League, with 18 and with 21 in all competitions. And with a particularly good record against Fulham. He has 8 goals against Fulham in 7 Premier League meetings.
You know, it's funny, strikers like certain clubs. No matter who plays for them, they just seem to be able to score against certain clubs.
And Fulham is certainly one of his, though not, oddly enough, the best. He has an even better record against Newcastle. Those are the top 2. Well, he's got a fair record against most.
I was going to say that.
Malbronk. McBride over the top from Malbronk for Boa Morte, who surely knows the way to goal, but who bumped into Evra. And here goes old Twinkle Toes again. Ronaldo. Park. Van Nistelrooy. Neville's on the charge once more. It's McBride across the medium of all people, as centre forward. In by Richardson. And behind.
And I think we're beginning to see glimpses of that 99 vintage. We're beginning to see just a little bit of that free-flowing, attacking football that's producing chance after chance. And he, of all people, Gary Neville, will know full well what it takes to replicate that sort of form.
Two of the players relatively recently integrated are starting to look now like bona fide Manchester United players. Park is certainly a case in point. He's had a first half hour here which has genuinely impacted on the game. Evra, who's another working his way into full integration. On with a high boot by Boumorte, but an acceptably high boot, which clashed with Gary Neville's equally lifted right foot. Swept forward hastily towards Malbranque. Evra met him. Malbranque was still able to deliver. Helguson got up.
There's not enough pressure on the guy crossing the ball. Evra sits up off him, and with people like McBride and Helguson, who are very strong in the air, you cannot allow that to happen.
Saha. Right up, Malbranque kept it in play. The senior's going beyond him. Malbranque played it in early, arguably too early, certainly too close to Van der Sar, whose reading was typically impeccable. Elliott has it back. Malbranque, good contest that between Malbranque and Evra. And Malbranque has exchanged with Elliott, and he's got the right side of the fullback. It's Steve Malbranque. Well seen by Brown. Kept going by Michael Brown. Boumorte. Wayne Bridge. And Wes Brown away from harm's way.
They're putting United under pressure, both flanks, and Fulham aren't really ready to give up the ghost on this one, are they?
Knight, of course, offers terrific height. These set-piece situations, all of 6'5". Hasn't scored since the final day of last season, though. Now wouldn't be a bad time. Elliott set-piece. Clearance reaches Ronaldo. Van Nistelrooy. An adventurous early ball. Saha was able to impart pressure on a retreating Michael Brown. Morse wrestling with Richardson. Elliott, the New Zealander. Right, accepting the apology from Knight for the slightly shanked pass. Took it away from Van Nistelrooy and was caught late by Smith. I don't know whether Fulham might have preferred, as Alan Smith gets the familiar glance at a yellow card. He's seen a few of those in his time. I don't know whether Fulham might have preferred to go on here. They had possession, they were looking forward.
I think the referee's got no option, got to book Smith there because the ball's well gone before the boot comes through the ankle.
Just back from a suspension. Starting on the road to the next one. Senior's free kick. Knight is up. His last goal was in the 6-0 rout of Norwich at Craven Cottage last May. Norwich went down with a whimper. West Bromwich Albion stayed up with a miracle. And here is Van Nistelrooy. He's behind you. Well, Ronaldo never does the obvious thing, does he? To slide something special in with the outside of his boot.
He is the king of, the unpredictable here, and that's what keeps defenders always backing off him. They get too tight, he goes past them, so they have to be very, very cautious.
Senior. Bridge. Did very well, Bridge. And it's a good cross as well. And I'll tell you what, they're back in it again. It's Heine Helguson. They will not accept when they're beaten. Edwin van der Sar is livid, I think, to some extent with himself for allowing Helguson's header to squeeze in, but also potentially livid at those in front of him who allowed Bridge to get all the way to the byline here and deliver.
They don't sense the danger. That's the most galling thing for Manchester United. The players there don't sense the danger. Bridge drives all the way to the line, cuts back a great cross, hangs it up. Helguson with a great leap. We said he's had a great leap. Van der Sar will feel very disappointed with himself because he's not kept that out when he really should have done. And it's the complacency we spoke about.
This is an exceptional game by any measurement. 10 minutes before half-time, and we've already seen 5 goals.
Have to get a new calculator.
And it's worth pointing out that away from home at Old Trafford, Gary, at Old Trafford, a difficult place to come by any yardstick, Fulham have scored twice, both goals made for them by attacking full-backs who've got all the way to the far byline.
Absolutely brilliant expression. It's great play, it's attacking play. It shows you sometimes your best form of defence is attack, and Fulham are doing that. The only trouble is they forgot to shut the door on United's attack themselves.
Brown's been booked here for this challenge on Lewis Morte.
That is frustration, pure and simple. And the trouble is now, United have picked up several bookings where players have got to be very, very careful now for the remaining minutes of this game.
Well, that back header from Brown was a little reminiscent of Rio Ferdinand's at Ewood Park the other night.
That more unintentional, though.
I've got Sahar. Manchester United have now conceded 6 goals in a game and a half. Forward by Smith. Evra. Exchange with Ronaldo. Seen by Rosinha. They wouldn't dare before half-time, would they, Fulham? The touch will have to be better than Morte's. His follow-up touch was rather rugged on Smith.
There's a man with some thoughts in his mind, and I'm sure some words to say at the break.
Ronaldo suggesting that Evra should dart ahead of him. Moving towards Smith. Not as far as Sahar. Ronaldo. Sahar. In for Van Nistelrooy. What an adept turn from Ruud van Nistelrooy, and then Sahar. And Van Nistelrooy again, boy, that's clever. And he couldn't quite get a toe on it. And in going in hard, he's yielded a free kick.
Oh, let's see that again, please. That is absolutely majestic. Thank you. Twist the blood, flick and a turn. That's the second of them. And just catches that knight over the top of the instep. Look at this, knows exactly what he's doing. Brilliant spatial awareness of both players and the spacing behind them. Anyone watching that, just enjoy it.
Try that on the park in the morning after 12 pints and a curry. he may not feel so well. Here's Malbronk. Ending at McBride. Away by Brown and back speculatively by Heider Helgesen. Van der Sar had 4 years at Fulham, played more than 150 games. 4 years at Fulham after 11 at Juventus, and 11 at Ajax, I beg your pardon, and 2 at Juventus. More than 100 caps for Holland. His career has amounted to plenty. It's going to be 3 minutes to add on after the 3 remaining minutes of the 45. Boa-Morte. Bridge. Clever exchange with McBride. Held up by Brown, and ran out of space.
Not quite in the same level as Van Nistelrooy, but the thought's there. And you can see Fulham will not be... Oh, is he allowed back? We're not quite seeing the Fulham attitude of sit back and hold out and see if we can't contain whatever Man United throw at us. They are still going for it. They still want this game.
Well, it'd be lovely for Fulham if they could get an equaliser while the boss wasn't looking. He's got to negotiate all the corridors down under the stand there on his way down to the dressing room for half-time. Quite an amusing moment if he got there and started bawling them out for trailing 2-3 and they were able to turn around and say, so, boss, it's 3-3 actually.
More interesting is if he meets the officials on the way down.
Out by Brown, on by Park. Came to Bridge. Morte challenged from behind by Neville. Who's been called over by Martin Atkinson.
I find that harsh because I think Neville gets a great piece of the ball. He doesn't seem to go through Boa-Morte. They get tangled up rather than there being any malicious intent in that. Yet Boa-Morte can verbally abuse the referee and get away with it. There we are.
5 goals, 4 yellow cards in the first half at Old Trafford. Gary Neville's the last. And he's no more impressed with it, Gary O'Reilly, than you are. Seemed to me to be a proper fullback's challenge. And the opposition's wide man. But it's yielded this free kick inside the last minute of the 45 before 3 extras to be added on. Elliott with a deepish one. And Van der Sar gathering from in front of McBride and Helgesen.
What it does show you is the fact that that ball coming in is always invariably won by a Fulham player. Without Rio Ferdinand, they miss that aerial dominance.
Park. Van Nistelrooy. Will steal it back through for Park. Niemi with a tentative left-footed clearance. Smith. Ronaldo, ever looking to go beyond him. Richardson square of him. Now Patrice Evra. He's got through Rosinho, but he won't get through Knight. Down by Silvestre. Chris Coleman will get to see what happens at the end of it all. He's watching the monitor down the tunnel at Old Trafford, following his sending from the bench. Not sure, but I know there have been in the past rules about managers being able to see monitors at the side of the pitch, and maybe that questions are asked about Chris Coleman being able to see the replay of the offside, which led to his dismissal. But that's another rather minor issue. Malbronk. Probably a slightly petty one in the context of what an excellent game this is. Ronaldo. Van Nistelrooy. Neville wanted to bomb on with it. Park stole it from off his toe. Here's Van Nistelrooy. Neville's got forward again. Parker's won it back. Neville. That is toe nicked by Brown. And a smile from the former Manchester City man, and a free kick to Manchester United, which will probably offer them their last opportunity of the half.
You can see just as he cuts inside, Michael Brown just a fraction of a second late. Nothing dangerous, but again it stops play for Fulham.
Richardson, that's poor one. Out by Morte. Back in by Neville. Out as far as Evra. Ronaldo. Bit of fun. Richardson. Pressure imparted by Morte. From Fulham's point of view, that ought at least to see the half out. One more chance for Van der Sar to load it forward. For Sahar to get up, for Van Nistelrooy to chase, for Bocanegra to nudge it back. And Niemi to come and gather. Sylvester misjudged his jump. The 3 minutes added have been played now. Rosenior's going beyond Malbronk, who's delivered deep. Helguson won it, McBride hit it over.
It's proving to be a combination, Helguson, McBride. One heads it, one strikes. Again, it's a cross. There's not enough pressure on Malbronk. In it comes, up goes the header. One touch, second touch is the strike. Hits it on the way up, therefore it's going over Van der Sar's bar. But I tell you what, they're getting there for that leveler, aren't they?
Oh, what a smash and go Fulham are giving this. A couple of times they might have had an excuse to surrender, they never have, and that's why it's such a very good game. Never ever dull. That flag in the hand of that referee's assistant has played its part in the game. There's been no shortage of controversy. Chris Coleman was sent off for disputing the scoring of Manchester United's third goal after Van Nistelrooy, and the build-up had looked very offside. Park scored the first, Ronaldo scored the second, McBride got one back, Sahar got the disputed one, then Helguson got another one back. In between all that, Chris Coleman's had to watch the game from 3 different places. There have been 4 yellow cards and a partridge in a pear tree. I tell you, everything at Old Trafford. What a wonderful half. Really exciting, good to watch. And Manchester United lead by 3 goals to 2. So what next? That is the question to be asked as we begin the second instalment of a drama that has already had most things, and Louis Sahar is looking to re-increase Manchester United's lead. The tackle on him leads to the concession of a corner inside the first quarter of a minute or so. I'll ask you to answer it, Gary O'Reilly. What next?
Let's see how Fulham start, which tempo they bring to this game, whether they say, look, let's have a containment for 10 minutes, or whether United just go straight for it.
Ronaldo's corner, and Niemi's very good reaching catch and instant distribution. Given back though to Neville. Brown and then Evra. Brown. There would certainly, I'm sure, be a lot of sympathisers for the Fulham cause around the country and around the world. Apparently wronged as they were by the award of that United third goal. Morte. Bridge. McBride. Morte. Bridge. And now lifted in by Boamorte and seen out by Evra. Bridge again for Lewis Boamorte. Faced by Park. Charging past him, but driving it against Gary Neville. Elliott for Boamorte. Bocanegra. Bridge.
And you can see Fulham immediately trying to keep that pattern of play where it goes wide, they stretch United across and they get high crosses into the box and cause them damage again.
Boamorte. Flag is up. This time against Brian McBride. It is the contentious flag. That of Nigel Bannister, the senior official on the line. It's the flag that failed to arrive midway through the first half. Ronaldo's header. McBride. Rosinha. Malbronk. Rosinha. Fulham giving this a real go now. He's faced by Sylvestre. Rosinha's hung up the cross. So Van der Sar was able to watch it go behind.
He was under pressure, Rosinha there. Better pressure from United because his head's down. He's not able to look up, doesn't get his head up at any stage and look for the cross and pick out a white shirt because he's under pressure. That's better defending from United.
Forward by Smith, good-looking ball as well. Park. Bocanegra was facing his own goal and did the safe, simple, sensible thing. Park's had a decent game. And Nistelrooy comes to receive the throw. Runs through his repertoire inside the box again. It's Park who started the goal-scoring trend towards the start of the first half, during which Chris Coleman lost the best seat in the house and was required instead to go and sit next to his chairman in the stand. Has had absolutely no fortune at all away from home this season. Gillingham won at Swansea on Tuesday, which left Fulham as the only team in all 4 divisions without an away win. Bocanegra. Elliott. Malbronk, a yard or two ahead of him. Steve Malbronk away from Brown. Malbronk! Saved by Van der Sar and shifted away by Gary Neville.
What a great save, because Malbronk worked so hard. Straight through the heart of United side. Look at this. Sends Wes Brown all over the place. Gets a little deflection and Van der Sar makes sure he's behind it. Great keeping from the big man.
Van der Sar was very disappointed at his concession, certainly of the second goal. He's atoned for it now and he gets both fists on that. Neville clear. Van Nistelrooy's little nick and turn. Knight. Elliott. Next missed kick. It's a fixture list that means an awful lot to him. He wasn't helped either, was he, by the deflection off Sylvestre?
That's what makes it so impressive for me, the fact that he does get the nick on the way through.
Adjusted really well. The goalkeeper who, of course, has a lot of height, plenty of body to use. Van Nistelrooy's flick. Sahar putting pressure on Elliott. Knight for Bridge. Bocanegra. Boamorte. That's good ball. And Bridges got a yard or two in front of him here. Neville between him and the box. Bridges played it in. Evra's header out. Smith. Neville. Found its way through to Park. This pass was a puzzling one, to put it kindly. Rossinha. Evra's tackle, Elliott's regather. And Silvestre sorted it out. Park caught on it by Boamorte. Helgeson bursting through. McBride waiting as well. Boamorte wanted to go himself, but couldn't find a way round Wes Brown.
It's good defending from the United player. Boamorte is quick. Here we see Park just give away possession. Boamorte's now driving. He's got grass behind him, but Brown sees him, forces him wide, forces him into a rush shot.
Neville, Saha, Van Nistelrooy. He's caught after the dispatch of the ball by Lewis Boamorte, who it appears is going to get away without having his name taken.
And you can see, look, if Neville gets booked in the first half for tackling Boamorte in a less dramatic fashion, that has to be a booking too. But we're not the referee, are we?
Agreed. Helgeson. Malbronk up alongside him. And the shot was a shade wild.
Why doesn't he feed Malbronk? Why doesn't he just draw the defenders to him? It's a great break. He rides the challenge. Smart ball in from McBride. He draws Silvestre in it in, gets him backpedaling. Malbronk's there, and just because he's drawing, I think it's Richardson in the cross. Ooh.
Saha moved it on. Van Nistelrooy required Rossinha to go back to square one. Bocanegra. Bridge. Sturdy tackle from Brown. Neville's given it back to Elliott. McBride. Early ball aimed at Helgeson, who's taken it away from Silvestre. Here's a give-it-all centre-forward, number 10, Heine Helgeson of Iceland and Fulham. Alex Ferguson has great variety in his February fixture list, sitting alongside Wayne Rooney there. After this, there's a Premier League trip to Pompey next week and his old mate Harry Redknapp, then an FA Cup trip to Liverpool the following week, and then the League Cup final against Wigan at Cardiff. It's a fixture list that just lacks the return to Europe, which United have come to take for granted at this time of year. Breakdown involving Silvestre and Evra.
Not for the first time those two have combined to do that.
Ronaldo. Away from Rossinha. Ronaldo's cross. Knight, tallest man on the field, was there to meet it at the near post. Then Ronaldo was caught by Rossinha. The Fulham player is the more hurt of the two, and to add insult to injury, the free kick has been given against the grounded young full-back.
Just doesn't get the ball down, and Ronaldo sticks out a foot. He's going for the ball. There's no foul in there at all for me.
If that free kick wasn't given, it is just a throw, but a Manchester United throw. Evra, Saha. Legally away from his man, Louis Saha. Header out by Elliott, gathered by Ronaldo. Richardson. Bravely out by Boamorte. Neville. Out again by Rosinho. Bridge. And again Wayne Bridge. McBride being climbed upon by Brown. All the way through to Helgeson very nearly. Had to be watchfully cleared by Evra. Van Nistelrooy. Felled in the centre circle. The defender Carlos Bocanegra. Ronaldo. You're happy to sit behind for a corner.
Thing is, for me, I know that trick's coming. He's sent out a message, and so does Rosinho, even a young fullback like that. It's got to be a little bit more subtle now, Ronaldo. People are expecting him to do something. Sometimes with his pace, just burn them off.
Well, the first quarter of an hour of the second half almost complete without a goal. Ronaldo's corner, and Sahar's header wide. Ferguson and Carlos Queiroz have achieved on the whole what they've set out to achieve on this ground this season. Away from home they've had their problems. They are contemplating change, it seems to me.
I think that's the general moving his troops around. He's seen enough. Having scored 3 in the first half and not being able to make a breach, oh well, there's the answer. Heavy artillery.
Not a bad fella to bring off the bench, and it lifts the noise inside Old Trafford as well. That and an incipient attack here with Sahar. And Ronaldo, and Van Nistelrooy waiting. Ronaldo played it in, Niemi smothered it, and landed on it a second time before Park arrived. Bridge. Won back determinedly by Richardson. Taken up by Park. Ronaldo. Evra. Corner given.
And United beginning to make that pressure tell. Corners are beginning to come, attacks are beginning to flow. Mainly, it must be said, down the left flank with Ronaldo, but they're beginning just to turn things up.
Silvestre beckoning others forward to join him. Ronaldo's corner was a bit of a disappointment this time. He's fortunate he'll get another go at it.
Need to get better delivery. Need to get better delivery from a quality player like that.
Ronaldo towards the back of the box this time and fired over by a deflection by Park. First goal in the Premier League today, first goal at Old Trafford today. Before this, he'd only scored once in the League Cup at Birmingham. He's taken the corner short for Gary Neville. In towards Sahar. Would have been a special one.
Good striker's instinct. He knows that ball's just slightly to the inside of him, but he hooks himself around it. It comes in, it's short, he's reading it, Sahar, then he bursts across, takes the touch first time, just can't get it down, gets in front of that Knight. Everything but the accuracy.
Well, he's been speaking quite lucidly this week, Louis Sahar, about his dark moments during the long injury layoff and how he felt deep down that he was letting his colleagues down and he wasn't being a proper Manchester United player. And whilst understanding all of the psychology of that, you've got to say he's done all right since he's come back. It's 10 goals now in 16 appearances.
He'd have had his faith in himself tested severely. He'd have had a lot of questions being asked in and around the club, probably not to his face, but he'd have known that they were there. And to come back and prove a point, very, very good.
Ronaldo. Sahar. Ronaldo. Free kick against Boamorte. Yellow card against Boamorte. And some would say he should have been booked 5 or 7 minutes ago, and that would have been a second yellow.
Well, there is a point to be made on that one. He's a persistent offender. And his tackles quite often are rarely near the ball.
So one Portuguese has his name taken, while another young Portuguese will have his eye on the dead ball situation, having excelled from one of these already. That is the gentleman in question, Cristiano Ronaldo. Wayne Rooney's still preparing to come on. He won't be part of this equation, but there is plenty for Anthony Amy to worry about without him.
The thing there for Naimi is you've got a left-footed player and a right-footed player on the ball, so he's not sure how he's going to set his wall up. He's got to cover the whole range of left and right-footed strikes.
And it is plumb centre. Ronaldo got through the wall, which would be an area of some concern to Fulham, but only squirted behind for a corner. Nothing particularly subtle about that one. Mark in front of the amateur photographers. Squeezed out to Malbranc. And on for Elliott. And a really good early ball to interest Helguson, who's held that up terrifically well. A nibble at the ankles from Evra.
That's impatient defending. No read to go and hack in around Helguson's legs there. He's going nowhere. And actually, I thought the linesman was quick to flag, unlike earlier in the game.
So having absorbed a fair amount of pressure in the first quarter of an hour, 20 minutes of the half, Fulham now have a chance to get the ball into the Manchester United box. Bocanegra and Knight both forward, Morte to the near post, and it was a little teaser.
That was a sneaky little free kick, because what worried me was the fact that it was going to travel, and once it gets into that 6-yard area, that's the danger zone for goalkeeper and defenders.
Morte spinning up in the air by Evra, taken back by Morte, who's judged to have backed in and needs to be careful about his protest, whatever he thinks.
He could be sat joining his manager very shortly if he carries on at this same attitude with the referee.
Is this a foul though?
He pulls at the shirt, but I think more to the point where he runs straight through the defender as if he's not there, almost in a reckless manner.
Ronaldo toying with Rossinha. Oh, no, they're getting nothing this time.
Good decision from the referee. Ronaldo beats himself.
McBride. Elliott. 20 minutes gone at Old Trafford. In the second half of this Barclays English Premier League game, which so thrilled in the first half, and which Bridge is trying to reignite in the second here with a thrilling run from left fullback. Malbranc. Morte. Bridge. Got a touch off Neville and got a corner.
Not seen enough of Wayne Bridge the second half, because his defensive duties have kept him pinned back in his own half, but you can see once he's let flow down that left-hand side, United will have problems.
Impossible that Wayne Bridge and Gary Neville will be either side of England's back four in Germany in the summer. Manchester United's 7th corner at Fulham's 3rd. Elliott's ball in, Knight's climb, and Van der Sar's gather. Park. Sahar. Neville. Van Nistelrooy. Taking on Bridge and putting in a very presentable ball, which Knight met and then Neville met. Well, he told you I don't need to. Gary Neville's last goal was 15 months ago against Lyon in the Champions League. Wayne Rooney has scored more recently than that, although, oddly enough, he's short of a goal or two just of late. He hasn't scored one in 2006. He is 9 games without a goal since scoring at Birmingham on the 28th of December. Here's Boamorte, McBride, Malbronc. And Rossignol against Ronaldo.
Not the quality of cross we saw from that young man in the first half. He would have whipped that around a defender, given those central defenders a lot of problems. So
Malbronc. Nice feet. And Malbronc kept going. And Malbronc nudged it down. And it wouldn't quite fall for Fulham in the area when it mattered most. McBride having wrestled and muscled into a decent position. Helgeson didn't get the fortunate bounce which would have enabled him to finish.
what worries me is Malbronc wins the header in the 18-yard box. That should concern me. So
now double change for Manchester United. Gary Neville is coming off to be replaced by Nemanja Vidic. And Wayne Rooney is going to replace Park Ji-sung. Mentioning that Rooney is 9 games without a goal. Never in his admittedly fairly short professional career to date, never has Wayne Rooney gone 10 games without a goal. So we'll see. He's reached 9 a couple of times before. But it's high time he was scoring his first goal of World Cup year. Did get a goal at Craven Cottage in October. Park got a goal for Sir Alex Ferguson earlier today and was happy with it. Gary Neville looks as though he needs some immediate treatment, having taken a kick on the right boot a short while ago. Sahar's won his header. Van Nistelrooy has gathered. Rooney for the first time. Ronaldo. Rooney. Incidentally, Manchester United captain's armband has been passed to the player who you saw cropping up bizarrely as on the right wing there, Wes Brown. He's the new skipper in the absence of Gary Neville.
yeah, he's probably going to be slotting in at right back. Wes Brown, Vidic coming in as central defender next to Silvestre, and Rooney parking up behind Sahar and Van Nistelrooy, which I think the way this game's panned out is perfect for him to launch in from deep attacks.
Evra. Can't quite keep it in. Minutes to play. Whilst they're just a goal behind, Fulham, naturally enough, will still feel in the game. Their away record in the Premier League this year, coming into this game, played 12, drawn 3, lost 9. The last away win was at Blackburn on the 7th of May. They'd probably settle for a draw here now. Ronaldo, Van Nistelrooy, through for the net.
That is outstanding from Ronaldo. Van Nistelrooy, if he can guide it under the bar, gets the perfect headed goal. Just what I was saying, but just let it go with your pace. No tricks, just let it go. That's what he does. Van Nistelrooy gets in front of the defender and he just cannot get it under Naimi's bar. It's a simple game sometimes.
Right away, Malbronc. Early from Elliott, perhaps too early. Rooney. Evra. Van Nistelrooy. Gave himself nowhere to go, in truth. Yemi last played on this ground 2 years and a week ago. He was in a Southampton side that lost 3-2. And Louis Saha scored the first goal. Vidic back to base. Van der Sar away. Malbranc. Bridge. Helguson. Word from the bench is that Helguson will be replaced fairly shortly. Elliott. Stab forward for Ronaldo. Moved on to Van Nistelrooy, who's onside here and still going. Van Nistelrooy denied at the near post by the goalkeeper, and then tumbling and then trying to turn it back to Saha. Rooney. It could be that the foul was committed off the field there. In by Brown.
But he has a cause, Ruud Van Nistelrooy, to say, look, I'm being held back here. I think it was Boa Morte who was fouling him to begin with, because he's probably the only one who could have called him.
And worth seeing again, because it's an awkward moment for the referee.
Another one, yes.
Another one, but if the offence is outside of the penalty area and off the field, I don't know whether that would have come into his thinking. Bridge.
Work to the theory, ignore it, it'll go away.
Good theory, I think. Elliott. Ever up in the air. McBride. Malbranc kept working at it and pivoted nicely and turned it wide for Rosinha. Decent delivery. Seen by Smith. Elliott jumping. Bridge. Out by Brown. Wide again from Elliott. Well, something has clearly happened off the ball, perhaps involving Helguson. He and Silvestre are having words.
And that looks like Vidic.
Vidic is evidently hurt. I wonder whether an assistant might have seen anything untoward. Oh, Vidic got a bit of Helguson and a bit of afters, and a bit more after that too.
I think we've seen most of that.
Didn't leave a lot to the imagination. It's fair to say that to an extent they became entangled inadvertently, and Helguson is clearly emphasising that part of the piece.
I just thought Helguson swings out a left boot, takes a hack at the shins of Vidic, which, if the referee feels that's the case...
Referee hasn't seen it, Carrie.
That's just the point. But he does have two officials either side of the pitch.
And they haven't seen it either.
Apparently not either.
And I think it's probably a good thing for Heidar Helguson that that's his last involvement in the game. He'll never forget the afternoon for the day he scored in the English Premier League at Old Trafford. But it's better to be replaced or taken off out of choice than be required to leave by the referee. And so Helguson gives way to Collins John for the last quarter of an hour of the game. Bridge. Boa Morte. Got Walter Lever something in here towards Collins John. And John pirouetted strongly. Boa Morte. Bridge ahead of him. Brown slithered, but was strong enough to see it behind. Good noise inside Old Trafford now. It's the sort of game that deserves a good noise. Most of the significant action occurred before the break, but it's remained teasingly alive from a Fulham perspective since the break. Manchester United would dearly love to kill it off. Fulham played, as I mentioned earlier, their first ever game of Premier League football on this ground and lost it 3-2. Louis Saha scored twice for them that day. Here he is for Manchester United, having scored once. Rooney. It's a weekend that began with more or less all things still possible for Fulham, whose former goalkeeper Edwin van der Sar nearly caused a catastrophe with a scraped clearance. Fulham began the day 9 points above the bottom three and 9 points beneath the top five. Their away form was even average, they'd be really up in the mix around the European places.
Now you know why Chris Coleman's so frustrated about life sometimes.
The senior did well to get the pass away, and the referee's done well to wave it on. In by Radzinski, out by Brown. Bridge.
Just for his trouble as he goes through. Have one of those as well for your trouble.
Well, I'm bound to say, harsh as that appears to be on Evra, it was evidently a foul, and it was also actually, in fairness to a referee who's had some uncertain moments, a very good piece of officiating.
Yeah, he let the whole game run and flow and then came back and did what he felt necessary. I'm quite happy with that.
Well, I make that 6 yellow cards in the game now. Cards have gone past goals. And he's up and okay. There's going to be another shift about in the back four for Manchester United here. Patrice Evra is going to come off shortly and be replaced by Phil Bardsley, who of course got an extended run at right full-back in the absence of Gary Neville earlier in the season. Problems at the back now as Radzinski goes in and goes over and gets nothing. And Evra wins Manchester United a throw.
And Vidic then combining with Evra to just really create problems. It seems to be that the decisive factor of Evra then getting in the way when the ball's up in the air. Again, once again, he did it with Sylvester a couple of times. Very fortunate on that occasion.
Corner to Fulham, last off Mikael Silvestre, last 10 minutes of the game. And here is the return of Phil Bardsley. It's his first appearance in the Premier League since mid-December. Last game was a 4-0 win against Wigan. Since then he's played 2 FA Cup games against Burton Albion. And he's now coming on in place of Patrice Evra. And it'll be interesting to see how United's back four now works itself out from right to left, whether Bardsley is simply asked to play at left back.
They've pushed Kieran Richardson in there before now and played him at left back, so we might see that as the way it falls. We'll wait and see.
Enjoyed seeing Evra today. But, he's taken a bash in the last few minutes, and he's relieved of the last 9 minutes of this very watchable contest. Elliott's corner for Fulham. Up got Knight. Squeezed away by Rooney. Ronaldo kept it from going behind, but then presented it back. And the shot got a deflection and went behind for another corner from Collins John.
Great pace from Ronaldo to see the ball, to get it before it goes out, but whoa, what a really weak clearance.
It was 3-2 at Craven Cottage in October between these sides. It is 3-2 now. Is there something more for them to conjure up? Header out by the acting skipper Brown. Word from the tunnel is that Patrice Evra has some sort of abdominal injury and has gone for treatment on it at once. Here's Richardson, faced by Elliott. Turn back for Bardsley, who is operating at left back. And now Rooney. Long from Mel Bronk. Radzinski out-jumped by Sylvestre. Sahar. Rooney. Sahar. Ronaldo far side. Van Nistelrooy through the middle. Louis Sahar on the ball and driving it rather tamely when there were so many other options open to him.
Exactly that. There were good options ahead of him. He had players in front of the ball, players to just thrown away, totally thrown away.
Rooney, beautiful take and turn. And then an overhit pass. Elliott, still something in it for Fulham, who stole themselves 3 points at Craven Cottage on Tuesday night and would be grateful equally late to steal themselves a single point at Old Trafford here this evening. Radzinski attempting the return pass for Malbronc. Rooney emerging with it. Brown from right fullback now. Manchester United have had to change both of their fullbacks. Fulham's on loan fullback Wayne Bridge has turned it out for a throw. It's reached that point on the evening for Manchester United now where ball retention is everything. 5 or 6 minutes is an awful long time just to play out. They'll want to be a shade more ambitious than that. Ronaldo. Nice, Van Nistelrooy. Ronaldo. Thinks he got a touch on the way through.
I'd have felt more confident if it were on his right foot. And he's happy with that shot for sure.
He's communicating with good humour with the Manchester United crowd. He's a very, very good goalkeeper. But he hasn't won an away match since doing so with Southampton at Millwall on October the 22nd. Prior to this, 3 Fulham games, 2 clean sheets, 2 goals conceded, 2 wins, 1 defeat. But he's 5 minutes away from a second defeat. And he has Louis Sahar running towards his goal now. Faced by Knight. Time to gather and play it in for Van Nistelrooy, who twisted and shot and was denied by Niemi, and Ronaldo! Yes! Now that should do it. He's glittered and sparkled all afternoon long. He scored once in the first half, he scored again in the second half. Manchester United have 4 goals and surely now 3 points.
You'd have to think the game's beyond Fulham now for sure. But when this ball comes in, it's a great pass from Van Nistelrooy, who sets this whole thing up. Sahar just tries a little trick, doesn't come off. When he picks out Van Nistelrooy, lovely dummy, tries to get the shot, good save by Niemi. What a strike, in off the post. Niemi may have stopped Van Nistelrooy, but he can't stop Ronaldo, not even this time.
And that last replay shows you how little he had to aim at here, Ronaldo. The target area was small.
And he takes it on the volley, in off the inside of the post, and that's how happy life can be.
21 tomorrow. Young, zestful, wealthy, talented.
But what about
and
Ronaldo?
his boss likes him. Life's all right. Richardson. All won by Bardsley. Good example, Philip Bardsley, of Sir Alex Ferguson's man management with his young players. A little spell in the first team and then a little spell out of the limelight, and now ready to come back again.
Some players you can do that with, some players you need to do that with. Some players Once they come in the side, prove a point. They're indispensable virtually, and therefore they have to stay in for that longer period of time. Players like Ronaldo particularly have to stay in because they bring so much to the team. Players like Barnsley you can afford to just gradually bring through.
Barnsley had the disadvantage of being essentially the deputy for the new club captain, Gary Neville, so once Neville was fit again, that was likely to be curtains anyway. Boamorte. Collins John has got momentarily goal side of Brown. He's affected a cross. Malbronk stumbled. Radzinski came to try and get it. Sahar turned. Rooney with a raker from deep. Knight away from Van Nistelrooy. Radzinski. His first touch was inexact, and Ronaldo has played it through for Van Nistelrooy. Bocanegra recovered well. Van Nistelrooy still wants it. Van Nistelrooy still wants it, and Niemi will get it. Manchester United have scored 4. Ruud Van Nistelrooy, who has 4 in his last 5 games, hasn't scored any of them. Sahar, who got the 3rd of them, despite Van Nistelrooy having been in an offside position. Rooney, good ball. Can Ronaldo make it? Can he find Van Nistelrooy? Can Van Nistelrooy finish? Was that a foul? Is that a penalty? No.
Oh, I thought that. Oh, the Stretford in, it was guaranteed, because it does look as if he dived just a tad.
Vidic away. Richardson. It would just have been icing on what has been a very rich and eatable cake.
The only thing is, Ronaldo shows him a little bit short with the pass again.
3 minutes to add. So in fact it's just the 2 minutes to add on to the 90. Here is Sahar, who's got a corner. 2 minutes is probably enough punishment for Fulham now, who've given a lot to this game.
And you can see as he goes in, there's no contact on Van Nistelrooy, and that's not the most elegant of dives.
Well, he's possibly got one more chance to attack a set piece here. Wayne Rooney is a very able potential deliverer of the corner. Isn't his best. Retrieved by Smith. And by Vidic. And then by Brown for Ronaldo. Too smart. Well, by Collins John, and United have another set piece with which to finish off the night.
That's maybe the last chance for United to notch number 5.
Rooney, Van Nistelrooy! Oh! Show me that again. It didn't happen, did it? The flag was up anyway.
Oh, there's some irony in there, isn't there, just? It's tight. It's tight, but... I
can't believe it went wide. From him, from there. That just doesn't happen. Fortunately, it was rendered meaningless by the upraised flag. Bridge for Fulham, who've never surrendered. And Boamorte. Even that decision's gone against him. It's too late to matter now. So Alex has his points. The season in terms of the real Champions League contenders, United still have a home game against Arsenal. They still have a trip to Spurs and to Chelsea. They've got to do their own thing on their own ground.
They get overhauled by Liverpool, then that season is between them and Arsenal for that Champions League spot.
Well, it's been a good day for Manchester United. It's been a glittering day for Cristiano Ronaldo. The boy who's about to become a man, who comes of age tomorrow, scored sparklingly in the first half and sparklingly again late in the second half to assure Manchester United of the 3 points that give them a 6-point cushion over Liverpool, who don't play until tomorrow. It's been a fabulously enjoyable football match, which has finished at Old Trafford. Manchester United 4, Fulham 2.